Hey everyone, this is David B. In this video, I want to analyze and explain the poem A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clarke Moore, specifically for English learners who might not understand some of the references. This is one of the most famous Christmas poems. "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house." So that first line, the first word, "'twas," this is just "it was." So it was the night before Christmas. Here it's just combined into "'twas" to make it one syllable. You'll also see in some Christmas songs "'tis," or the phrase "'tis the season," which stands for "it is." "'Tis the season to be jolly." It is the season to be jolly. So it was the night before Christmas. Christmas is December 25th. The night before Christmas is Christmas Eve, December 24th. When all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So the house was quiet, everything was settled down for the night. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. Stockings just mean socks, and they're hung up by the chimney because St. Nicholas, also called Santa Claus, comes down the chimney and leaves presents for children in the stockings. The children were nestled all snug in their beds. So in other words, they were in their beds and they were warm and sleeping, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. Sugar plums are just a type of candy. So in other words, the children are dreaming of the candy they're going to receive on Christmas morning. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. Kerchief is short for handkerchief, which is a square of fabric that you might use to blow your nose, or in this case, it's something that his wife is wearing on her head, and he is wearing a cap. So they're just wearing things on their head at night to keep warm while they sleep. Had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap just means they were going to bed at night and sleeping. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, so in other words, outside in the yard, he heard a lot of noise, a lot of commotion. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. So he jumps out of bed so he can see what is happening. Away to the window I flew like a flash, so he ran to the window, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. Shutters and sash are just parts of a window. So it just means he ran to the window and opened it to look outside to see what was happening. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. So you can imagine that there's fresh fallen snow on the ground and the moon is shining on it. So it's making everything look kind of bright, like midday. Luster means kind of like a shine or a glow. And here it's the British spelling. If we spelled it here in America, we would have it ER at the end rather than RE. When what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. So he sees a sleigh being pulled by reindeer. And this is part of the imagery of Christmas, that St. Nicholas or Santa goes around the world in a sleigh that is pulled by reindeer. A sleigh is like a vehicle that gets pulled across snow, but in this case, it's something that flies. And it says it's miniature, which means small, because it's distant. It's actually a full-sized man and reindeer. They're just a little bit far away, so it looks small. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be Saint Nick. So he's looking at the person driving the sleigh, and he knows this must be Saint Nicholas. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came. Coursers means fast horses. or in this case, it's referring to the reindeer. And he's saying that they're faster than eagles. Eagles are a type of large bird that can fly very fast. So he's saying these reindeer are flying extremely quickly. And he whistled and shouted and called them by name. And here we learn the names of the reindeer: Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. So St. Nicholas is shouting commands to the reindeer and cheering them on. And now we get to my favorite line in the whole poem, and it took me sitting down and reading this carefully to understand what it actually means. I heard this a lot when I was growing up and I never understood it, so let me explain. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So here it says hurricane. You can just imagine that meaning the wind. So the wind is blowing leaves, and when those leaves meet an obstacle, such as a house or a wall, they get blown upward. The wind blows them upward. They mount to the sky. So it just means that when leaves get blown by the wind and they come across an object, they rise upward. So up to the housetop, the coursers they flew. So it's saying that the reindeer flew in the same way that leaves do when they get blown by the wind. You could imagine them flying level and then going up and landing on the top of the house. So up to the housetop, the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. So the sleigh not only has St. Nicholas driving it, but he has a bag full of toys that he's going to deliver to the children. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. So remember, the narrator is inside the house. So he saw this sleigh flying, and now they're on the roof. So he's inside the house hearing the feet of the reindeer on the roof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. So that's part of the imagery of Christmas, that St. Nicholas, or Santa Claus, comes down the chimney to deliver toys. So he pulls his head in from the window and turns around, and right then Santa Claus, St. Nicholas, is already coming down the chimney. And it says he comes with a bound, which means like he kind of plops down, just falls. Next, we describe what St. Nicholas is wearing. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. So in other words, he just came down the chimney, so his clothing is dirty. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back. So that's the bag of toys that he's going to leave these toys for the children. And he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. Here, peddler has just one D. The more modern spelling would have two Ds, Peddler. And a peddler is someone who goes around from town to town selling items that they keep in a bag. So he's saying that St. Nicholas looked like a peddler who might be selling items. That's just how he looked when he was opening this bag. Next, he describes St. Nicholas's face and body. His eyes, how they twinkled. His dimples, how merry. Dimples are when you smile on your cheeks if you have little indentations. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. So his cheeks and nose were both red. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. So his mouth, I'm not exactly sure what exactly that means, drawn up like a bow, but it tells us he has a white beard. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, so he's smoking a pipe, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. A wreath is a round thing that you hang on your door at Christmas time. And so it's just saying he's smoking and the smoke is going around his head in a circle. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. So he's kind of fat, basically. He's got a wide face, he's got a round belly that shakes when he laughs. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf. So he's kind of, fat, but he's also a cheerful man. And that word elf, we normally think of elves as being Santa's helpers that live and work at the North Pole to make all of the toys. And I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. I was trying to figure out what exactly this means. I think it means that the narrator is laughing at the way Santa looks, being kind of fat and cheerful. But even though he's laughing at Santa, maybe he's kind of fat himself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. So Santa kind of winks at him to let him know, like, everything's okay. There's no problem. He spoke not a word, so he didn't say anything, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings. So he put the toys for the children or candy or whatever he's leaving. He put them in the stockings, then turned with a jerk and laying his finger aside of his nose, which means that he put his finger next to his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. So he goes back up the chimney in some magical way. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team, meaning to his reindeer, gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. A thistle is a kind of plant or a flower, and the down is a fluffy white part of the plant that the seeds are connected to. And that's how the seeds are dispersed. The wind blows the down, which is very light, and that carries the seeds somewhere else so that the plant can grow in other locations. So it's just saying they flew away like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight. That word ere, E-R-E, is an archaic word, or a word that we don't use anymore, but it means before. So I heard him exclaim, I heard him yell this before he drove out of sight. And the thing he yelled was, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." Now it's interesting, in this poem it says Happy Christmas, because normally the phrase that we use is Merry Christmas. But you can hear it either way. But here in the poem, it's Happy Christmas. That was the poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clarke Moore. I hope that you understand it a little better now and can get more enjoyment out of it. I really enjoy this poem. I think it's a fun poem for the Christmas season, and I think it's really well written. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. This is David B. Thanks for watching.